We've got 90-second statement today. We're going to do it on the new beer can too, so at least we'll talk to you all about that.
And on a beer can?
You've got to read it out.
I'm Bob's Chief of Staff and I've been his Chief of Staff for the last 3 years.
Your speech is on the can itself.
No.
He makes me very stressed at times. He makes me exasperated at times.
You need to start preparing now because we're going to run out of time.
My sisters and I have all worked for Dad at some point or another, and we call it doing time. It felt like I was a bit of a babysitter.
That doesn't seem to be very healthy, Bob.
I remember ringing up my sister and saying, "Oh my gosh, I've just sworn at Dad." And she went, "Oh, it's fine, you'll get used to it."
He's having white bread, butter, and condensed milk.
Bob just does things differently to other politicians. He likes to take risks. What other people would say is acceptable socially or politically, he's willing to go out there and tap dance on that line every time. And I love that about him.
I'm a Martian astronaut, Mr. Acting Speaker.
He's like a nudist at a bishop's conference. You know, he stands out in federal parliament. His language, his character, his hat.
A crocodile is a crocodile. They see you and they say that's lunch.
That's it. That's very ominous. It's very threatening.
I get embarrassed often, you know, with some of the things Bob does. The children have found it difficult having the Katter surname, and they were so happy to get married and change their name.
Move it on up, come on. No, not move backwards.
When people simply ridicule him for being, you know, some Queensland hick, they do so at their peril.
How did you get that through Parliament security?
I have influence.
It would be remarkable if it all came down to Bob Katter's vote in terms of a minority government.
Don't speak over me.
A single vote of a figure like Katter, who, you know, is obviously such an unpredictable, mercurial sort of figure, but it's by no means impossible.
Every time I've opened my mouth, you started talking. Right, now shut up and let me have a go. What a lot of journalists think is my peculiarities, abnormalities, are actually pretty desperate effort to get my message across. My people are dying. Inland Australia is dying, and I'm desperate.
Will you ever quit?
Yeah, when I stop breathing.
I think both sides of politics are very aware that all of the polls are suggesting we are headed for a hung parliament, and that means members of the crossbench have enormous power in their hands to decide who is going to form government. Peter Dutton would need Bob Katter to form a minority government. Anthony Albanese would very much like to have Bob Katter to form a minority government. That means Bob Katter is going to be in a pivotal position.
Bob Katter's been there for a long period of time. If you combine state and federal, he's been there for 50 years. And we've actually made a decision to give him a portrait in Parliament House. And that was a bipartisan decision.
Whitlam? Bizarre. Bizarre. You know, that's all you could say about him. A larrikin. His nose is a bit red too, because he drank a bit, you know.
When you look around this building, there are many fine portraits. They tend to all be former Prime Ministers, Speakers of the House, Presidents of the Senate. I can't recall seeing too many portraits of long-serving MPs.
So what are people going to say when they see your portrait, do you think?
Oh, a few of them might spit at it.
So this does look a little unique, a little unusual, and looks a little bit like a Prime Minister who might be cozying up to a potential Kingmaker if we're in a hung Parliament situation.
Why does he deserve a portrait?
Because anyone who survives 50 years, the average time in the House of Representatives was around about 5.6 years, I think, so less than 2 terms. Bob Katter has served 5 decades, and that's worthy of recognition.
Bob's electorate is 2.5 times the size of Victoria. It's massive. Over 130 towns in it. I actually documented it 1 year. I tallied up all of the distance he travelled just in Kennedy alone, and it was enough to circumnavigate the globe twice.
People in North Queensland vote for Bob Katter because despite all his flaws, he will actually do what he says he'll do, you know, fixing quite basic services because the natural environment is very harsh.
It's going to take another 10 years and 60 million.
He has just become bulletproof in his electorate because he fights for those people.
One's good for us, one's good for you. Right, we badly need you, my brother. Right.
Thanks, mate. Good on you.
He comes from the days of the Country Party in Queensland, the days of Joe Bjelke-Petersen. He's lived through that whole era through to the modern times. And so he is a true political fighter, but also a true political survivor.
The family story is that my grandfather, Jiddi we called him, came from Lebanon when he was in his early teens. He was Khalil, Ignatius, Mubarak, Kreata, Kairuz. So my grandfather became Karl Katter.
There's a lot of Labor blood in Katter's early upbringing. His father was a member of the party. Bob went to the meetings when he was a boy.
We organised and worked like dogs for the Labor movement. We believed in the Labor movement. But then when the Labor Party split in two, he ended up in the Country Party. I was brought up by my mother, you know, I hardly saw my father as Mayor of Mount Isa and Cloncurry, and later on, but got elected to federal parliament.
What will be very costly reparation work will need federal government assistance, and that's where I come in.
There were times when I had great hostility with my father. My mother was very, very ill for the last 7 or 8 years of her life, and there was no way that she could be a wife or companion to my father, who had one of the biggest electorates in Australia. He was in love with his electorate, you know, and it was unhappy for them.
I'm heading across to Charters Towers. I've been commissioned by the Australian government to paint a portrait of Bob Katter. I'm excited to see this larger-than-life character, this John Wayne, Clint Eastwood character. There he is.
Well, well, well.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Greetings, my brother. Greetings. Come in, please. I just can't begin to tell you how uncomfortable I am with the portrait.
Is your
That's the hat I probably like wearing most, yeah. You put someone up on a pedestal, everyone's got to tear him down.
With Bob, I felt like he had 1,000 things going on in his head. And I took him into the town, and it was like he was in his element. And he just came to life. That's it, great. He's puffed up, he looks strong, he looks proud. Awesome. I felt a sense of relief because I went, oh, I've got it, I've got something here. Got some nice shots, very nice shots. He's not a bad model, he's a Zoolander in the making. It's a silly movie about models.
In the 1960s, Bob left the bush and went to the Big Smoke in Brisbane to Queensland University and started a law degree. He just absorbed the uni larrikin student role and became famous when he and others egged the Beatles when they were being mobbed by all the girls.
It's 12:30 a.m, but Brisbane's airport's crowded. Why? Beatlemania's move north.
A bloke called Gary Williams kicked the door open. He said, "We're going to egg the Beatles, get your gear on." And I said, "Why do you want to throw eggs to the Beatles?" He said, "Well, you got anything better to do?" No, well, no, I haven't.
And here they are, John, Paul, George and Ringo.
So anyway, we went through eggs to the Beatles. And of course, we were international news, and I took it upon myself to do the interviews, I said it was sort of an intellectual reaction against Beatlemania. At some stage, someone had to stand up. Sounded pretty good.
And if you get the chance, would you throw the eggs back?
If I had the chance, I'd prefer to find out why they actually do it. And then smash the hell out of them.
You know, everybody knew Bob Katter. He was such a character. I mean, he was prominent in everything at university. And in those days, he was very handsome, very good looking, you know. Look, we fell in love and it was lovely. It was a lovely period of our lives.
Well, Susie, you know, she was pretty much the centre of the earth in Brisbane society at the time. And, of course, I'm a rough nut from Cloncurry. I would have been every mother's nightmare. 6 years at university, no degree when I left. No job, no qualifications.
He will often joke that, you know, as Cloncurry boys, we had our tear ducts removed at birth. And as such, he will stray away from anything that makes him emotional.
I know nothing about his mother because he can't talk about it without getting upset. He can't do a speech or mention without getting upset. So she obviously had a profound influence on his life.
Every single thing that I have done in my life could quite rightly be attributable to my mother and her influence. She said we were supposed to look after poor people, and she said we had to be good to other people.
Mother had rheumatic fever as a child, which there was no treatment for in those days. She had damaged heart valves.
She was told that she could never have children. That would threaten her life and most certainly shorten her life, which did. Excuse me. I said in that she would never have been happy unless she was a mother. So if she had to die, well, she had to die.
She passed away when he was in his early 20s. He really struggled to overcome that.
He was worried that he disappointed his mother, and his mother didn't live long enough to see Bob when he'd reinvented himself. As a young man, I don't think Bob Katter showed any inclination to jump into politics. For a period, he worked in the mines as an unskilled labourer, and that's where he got involved with the unions.
I believe strongly that the working man needs strong representation, but Whitlam got elected. And my life changed immediately. I don't really know why I hated him so much, but I did.
Well, then he did decide to run for the Queensland Parliament in the mid-70s. He wanted to be in the Conservative form of government that Joh Bjelke-Petersen was running at the time.
This again disgusts me very greatly from time to time.
My first observation of Bob was what I describe as Bob in full Joh mode. And it was a sight to behold. He was a complete Bjelke-Petersen loyalist.
Every Australian should be offered a job. Now, if there's no jobs available in the particular town in which he's in, then a job should be created by the government. If he's unprepared to take that job, then I most certainly believe, and I make no apologies for stating, the fact that, yes, he should starve.
I was one of the leadership contenders if who was going to replace Joh. So there was a lot of suspicion about me. And Bjelke-Petersen put me at Aboriginal Affairs, and there was an attitude that must be a good way to get rid of him.
I've spent 2 to 3 months of my life, along with other people, finding out what the Aboriginal people want and what they need.
Bob has always been very attentive to the rights and opportunities of Aboriginal Australians in a way which you never often found on the Conservative side of politics. Old-fashioned Catholic Labor values.
I was a bit of a recalcitrant voice. I wasn't going to toe the party line and just, you know, be a good little boy. and promote the party. That's not what I was there for.
It's probably 2.5 months since I first met Bob. I've shot about 1,000 pictures and I got approval yesterday, so today is the day that I start the big painting. I'm just putting up some frosting because I'm not allowed to let the public see this portrait until it's unveiled at Parliament House. So here we go. This is the first underpainting. I've got about 8 weeks until the deadline, so pressure's on.
For the benefits of the media, let me reintroduce our new members, Bob Catter from Kennedy.
Bob went into federal parliament mainly to take the fight down to Canberra, where he could get more exposure on his perception that what a poor deal Northern Australia and Northern Queensland was getting from the feds.
Please, ask yourself a question. When was the last time you sat down and listened to a mob of blokes in a packing shed, or in a crib room in a factory, or in a pub, where you sat there for an hour and shut your mouth and listened?
He became disillusioned with his own party, the National Party, pretty quickly.
I mean, obviously, when I walk inside that Parliament House, I'm out of step. When I walk outside Parliament House, I'm in step.
When the Conservatives embraced globalisation, that was too much for Bob. He believed that they were betraying the interests of dairy farmers and cane farmers and other exporters.
I've tendered my resignation from the Parliamentary Federal National Party.
That's when he made the decision to stand as an independent.
Bob Catter, it's wrong time. He's got more than twice the vote of his second.
It felt like I'd grown wings. I was free. I was out of jail. I hadn't realised what a burden I'd been carrying till I got out. It was unbearable joy of living.
Bob, so you're just about to go into the house? You're talking about housing?
I've only got 90 seconds, right?
Okay.
I'm just going to quote Robert Kennedy, some say the world as it is and say what. Prior to these impositions, the law was caveat emptor, buyer beware.
Could you instead say, we're removing all regulatory impositions because...
Look, I've worked with him off and on for 15 years. I've got 4 young kids and I say working for Bob was great training.
It's a 90-second statement. Don't even mention caveat emptor.
You don't think I've got time, though?
No, you're bringing in too many themes.
It's completely and utterly exhausting.
Don't go on about caveat emptor. They've started. They've started. Barnaby's up. Go. Go, 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 go. He's going to call you up.
There's 4 of us and we just can't keep up with him. He just has got so much to achieve.
No regulatory impositions whatsoever. Caveat emptor at a cost of $150,000 or $200,000
has expired. Member for Bennelong has the call.
Order. I'm hoping for a Christmas miracle. The member for Kennedy.
Treasurer, I made 100 in the backyard at Mum's.
In question time, when Bob rises to his feet, my heart starts racing because I'm equally terrified and excited about what he's going to say.
Treasurer, why don't you become a federal government, cut the Gordonian knot and wreak can-I-like destruction upon power-drunk state and local government regulators?
And I've then got to decipher what was the question, and luckily his staff speak Catter as well. So they will translate some of his demands.
Didn't pagan rituals sacrifice children to the tree and crocodile gods? Do such rituals still live on, Mr. Treasurer?
I would defy anyone in the House of Representatives to tell me clearly one question that Bob has actually asked.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank my fellow Queenslander for the characteristically colourful question.
He doesn't actually ask a question like normal people. He takes you on a journey of Bob's inner monologue.
I risked my life flying in a harness, only feet above a snapping 4.5 metre crocodile. Mr Speaker, without a gun.
He's always been like that. Ever since I've known him, he has to go into this great rigmarole. That's just part of him. Look, honestly, sometimes I could get the knife and stab him, you know, like it can be very frustrating.
Today's same-sex marriage result was a resounding yes across the country.
There are some issues like the same-sex marriage plebiscite that Bob was uncomfortable with, so we call it switching gears.
You know, people are entitled to their sexual proclivities, you know. I mean, let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned, you know. But I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
You know, when you ask me a question, I mean, there's such a huge amount of information that I want to get across. And sometimes it stumbles all over itself and comes out garbled.
Might there be a medical explanation for that?
Definitely not.
He would not surprise me at all if someone diagnosed him with something. I mean, he can be singularly focused on that bridge or that road or this dam built or whatever it is, and he can be very difficult to live with in those periods because that's it. I often joke, whatever he's on, I want half a kilo of it because it's it keeps him going.
Honestly, you just can't make this up. I mean, you know, people are entitled to their sexual proclivities, you know, I mean.
One of the things that we've noticed is that he's got this new support out there with the early 20-year-olds and all the university students.
Every 3 months a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile.
It's predominantly TikTok and Instagram that have just exploded and given us a platform to be able to, you know, take his brand and propel it into this stratosphere.
Oh my God. You lucky man.
You blokes all got big heads. Maybe my head's shrunk.
He's not just a hit on TikTok, he's a hit anywhere.
God bless you, Carla.
We went out to dinner once or twice, and as we were leaving the restaurant, there were all these young people. Oh, Bob Catter, can we take a selfie with you? Can we take a selfie? I'm thinking, oh my God, he's a superstar.
Who's going to wear my hat?
I can't understand why young people even bother following Bob on social media because I can only think that they would absolutely disagree with so much of what he says.
The KMP, which I'm very proud, have moved for the preservation of life of those little children who are being murdered unborn.
But they seemingly keep going back for more.
I would love to wear your hat.
We sort of done full circle. It's cool to love Katter now.
You should come to our business ball.
Business ball.
19th of October, there's a bar tab and free food.
He can't figure out why. He doesn't quite understand the social media aspect of it yet.
The more and more popular I become, the more and more scared I become.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you so much.
You never, ever ride popularity. It will buck you off every time.
Morning. I'm Annette Swain. I'm the LNP candidate for Kennedy.
Why do you want to run against Bob Catter, given he's never been more popular?
Good question. 32 years Bob Catter's been in Parliament. That's nothing to be scoffed at. I just see it as that it is time for change. That's the feel I get on the ground. We feel here in the electorate of Kennedy that we're not being listened to by Canberra.
The last occasion on which the independents really counted in forming a government federally was in 2010, and Bob Catter was a part of that mix.
Hello, I'm well, thank you.
Millions of Australians voted, but just 3 of them will decide the outcome.
I can remember during the so-called 17 days of the formation of the minority government, the 3 of us, Rob Oakeshott, Bob and myself, agreed that we would tell each other how we were going to vote before we told the world.
And we did that, in fact, in my office.
It's fair to say Bob's locked in and will have...
With one side. I don't know. We don't really have to go which side it is at the moment, but it creates a bit of a difficulty.
We'd organised for the three of us to actually address the nation. I think he was very frustrated. He suddenly realised that he wasn't the winning horse, that the focus would not be on him. So he said, well, I'm out of here. I'll go and do my own thing. I will be backing the coalition, yes. I went for North Queensland. I went for my tribe, my homeland. That's who I went for, and it's a pity a few other members of Parliament didn't do it as well. He was good at the theatre of politics. There's some room over here.
He backed Tony Abbott rather than Julia Gillard in that hung parliament. Ultimately, other independents backed Julia Gillard to form a minority government. Then the Morrison government needed extra support, and it was Bob Katter who gave it to them. So he showed a willingness to back the Conservative side in hung parliament or minority government situation.
Lots of people pigeonhole Bob as right-wing. He considers himself to be hard left.
A lot of people die of shock when they find out I'm a very loyal flag-waving member of the CFMEU. You know, the left-right thing doesn't work. It doesn't work with me.
What are you intending to do if there's a hung parliament and party leaders come seeking your support?
Well, I've always, prioritised North Queensland, but I have a list in my head. I carry it with me every day of my life. We get a balance of power. We'll have a fair bit of clout down there. And I'll be pretty brutal about getting what I want. I want to stop immigration. That's my latest thing. Just stop immigration. Now, that's my priority. And of course, treatment of the first Australians living in their homelands is horrific. But I'm not locked into either side. I'm selling my gun very expensively,
I'm getting close to completion. I've got the majority of the painting in there. I'm happy with the expression on his face, which was the big thing for me. But I feel like I've got that right. So now it's just touching up and fixing all the bits that need fixing, and then it's off to Canberra.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, can I welcome you here to the day we celebrate the Honourable Bob Katter's 50 years of service across state and federal parliaments.
I'm proud to call you a mate and someone who I've worked with over such a long period of time, both.
Bob can be friends with anyone, that's the thing. He'll be friends with anyone right across the political divide.
We're going to get Dyer a hat.
He would have friends that I would say would surprise many people.
All of his speeches have been compiled.
All the words are there. 6 volumes of them.
You're an audiobook version?
More importantly, can I tear some pages out?
I have hoped for many years that my dad would retire. Every election we think, oh, please may it be the last, can he just rest? And he won't.
There's only one way that he's going out of this place, and that's in a box. Yep.
I was really worried, so I was smiling at
I'll get a couple of minutes.
Bob's pushing 80, but he also takes pride in being the second longest serving politician in Australian history. And he may be trying for the record, which would mean he'd have another 2 terms, I think, which might be difficult, Bob.
I've got no excuse to get out. I mean, I'm not in bad health. My brain's not falling to pieces. Well, might have fallen to pieces a long time ago, but we're fighting a battle here for, as I said, for my country. What am I going to do? Just shoulder my rifle and walk off, am I? No. I'll stay fighting the fight.
I
heard down in Victoria they're making a statue of Dan Andrews and they're spending $200,000 on the statue. I can guarantee you I'd never waste that type of money on Bob. First one here, we've got Bono. How's that? Well, then we have the next one, Susie. She looks pretty good, doesn't she? So we'll unveil Bob now. If anyone wants to get a photo with Bob, they just come to Gold Tower, do a bit of shopping, and get a photo.